Good afternoon. Welcome to Community Matters. This is your host, Becky Steinbrunner, and I'm honored to be here live in the studio for Santa Cruz Voice, streaming live from the Satellite Work and Digital Media Center that is located at 325 Soquel Avenue in Santa Cruz. It is a wonderful place. If you're thinking about what you want to do differently next year, which is right around the corner, and you're thinking about maybe a different sort of work environment, you might check out the Satellite Work and Digital Media Center. Again, that's at 325 Soquel Avenue in Santa Cruz. I cannot say enough good about this great place. It is clean, quiet, very secure, and incredibly friendly service as you come in the door. The first Friday of every month, it is free. So you can come check it out on the first Friday of January and see if it might suit you. You can rent space by the hour, by the day, by the week, by the month, and there's a multitude of different options available, whether it's just a place out in a big open area or a private meeting room. And it has served Santa Cruz Voice very well, having our studio here. And we share this great space with community television, another great gem in our community, who records and makes available to the public many local government meetings, such as the County Board of Supervisors, the Regional Transportation Commission, Soquel Creek Water District, many of the city meetings. So if you can't get there on a Tuesday at 9 a.m. to listen in or talk with the County Board of Supervisors, but you still want to know what happened, you can watch it on community television's website called Government on Demand and find out what was said. A lot better than trying to figure it all out between the lines of written minutes, which are pretty scant. They're called action minutes, and they only say who made the motion, who seconded it, and how it was usually unanimously approved. So check out Satellite Work and Digital Media Center, 325 Soquel Avenue in Santa Cruz. It's located between Ocean Street and San Lorenzo River. So thank you very much for tuning in today to Community Matters. Again, I'm Becky Steinbrunner, your host here on SantaCruzVoice.com. And I'm honored to bring to you every Friday from 2 to 4 a program that focuses on the importance of local people taking action and being informed in our local government. Many people feel somewhat helpless regarding national politics, certainly world politics, but let me tell you, you can make a difference, a big difference here in the local community, whether it's at a commission level, a city council, County Board of Supervisors. Anything helps. Writing one letter, making one call every week on something that really matters to you, you can make a difference. So carry that forward with you going into the new year. In the second hour, we're going to have a couple of really great guests. One will be in the studio, one will be participating via telephone. They are Kirby and Kristen Colishaw. Now, you may recognize those names, the ladies from The Elephant in the Room, a program here on Santa Cruz Voice, still being played Mondays from 2 to 4 p.m. They are taking, I'll take the liberty of saying they're taking a sabbatical. And so you can still listen to their recorded programs here on Santa Cruz Voice. It's called The Elephant in the Room. And they did some amazing programs and interviews with many representatives, many people running for office, Excellent, excellent programs. So we're hoping to get them back on an Elephant in the Room program schedule, but today they're both going to be my guests here because both of them moved out of California. Now, a lot of people are considering that. As you move into the new year, maybe you are. According to a recent survey, about 56% of Californians are contemplating moving out of California. Well, these two ladies have done it, and I'm very much looking forward to talking with them, and we will invite your calls at that time, and you can ask questions. What was it like? Do they regret it? What was the most difficult part? How did they decide where to go? All of these questions will be coming up in the second hour, beginning at 3:06 after the, I think we have still a recorded news break. So stay tuned for the second hour when my guests will be Kristen Colishaw here in the studio and Kris Kirby participating from afar. Speaking of afar, let's use that as a piece to transition to a lighthearted discussion of celebrations of the New Year around the world. I wonder what you do to celebrate or welcome in the New Year. Feel free to call if you'd like, and we can discuss that and see what it's like for you. Let's see here. Yes, okay. I'm sorry. I'm checking out my software here. So, what do you do to celebrate the New Year's? It's a big deal for a lot of people, and I thought it might be fun here to talk about what people from around different places around the world do. So I looked it up a bit, and I found in a journal called Afar an article published December 23rd, 2024 by Kris and Jesse Beck. New Year's traditions around the world go way beyond fireworks, but these are the 14 coolest. So feel free to interrupt me. There are 14 of them here. They're not long, but feel free to call in at 831-265-5050 and tell me, how do you celebrate New Year's, or do you not? The first New Year's tradition is various countries eating lucky foods. Throughout the world, New Year's Eve is celebrated with a meal in the company of friends and family. In some places, this means eating specific lucky foods. In Spain, Portugal, and much of Latin America, such as Colombia, for example, it's 12 grapes or 12 raisins. In Italy, it's 12 spoonfuls of lentils, one with each of the 12 chimes of the clock at midnight. Boy, you wouldn't be able to chew it very much. Going back to this article from the magazine Afar, the French usher in the best New Year with a stack of pancakes. Germans prefer marzipan shaped into a pig for good luck, whereas in the Netherlands, people eat donuts and ring-shaped foods. Estonians feast as many as 7, 9, or even 12 times on the New Year's Eve, as they believe for each meal consumed, the person gains the strength of that many men the following year. Across the U.S. South, communities dig into collard greens and black-eyed peas for good luck and prosperity on New Year's Day. As a fun fact, collard greens are chosen because of their color. The green symbolizes money. Here's the second cool thing from around the world that people do, according to this magazine Afar, to celebrate New Year's. In Scotland, Hogmanay is an end-of-year New Year's Eve party that starts on December 30th and ends on New Year's Day. That's a long party. There are many variations of Hogmanay celebrations throughout the country, but The most common tradition is that of first footing, which involves being the first to visit friends and neighbors, often with a symbolic gift in hand. People gather to sing Auld Lang Syne, a song about friends recalling their adventures from long ago, as the clock strikes midnight. But one of the most important New Year's Eve traditions is the redding of the house, and that's spelled Redding. This is essentially a deep clean around your home, from the cabinets to the front door. One spot that is focused on is the fireplace. All of the old ashes are cleaned out, so everyone in the house can start the year off fresh. If you happen to be in Edinburgh for the festivities, expect to see pipers and drummers leading torch-wielding locals on a procession throughout the city, scheduled for December 29th in this year. And on New Year's Day, the party ends up with a bracing swim in the chilly waters of the Firth of Forth. A swim in the ocean. I know people that do that here in Santa Cruz. Do you? Give me a call and tell me what you do or what your friends and family do for New Year's. 831-265-5050. Let's move on to the third cool thing from this news magazine called Afar to celebrate the new year, and that is in the Philippines, wearing polka dots and eating round fruit. To ensure a happy new year, the Filipino community believes that wearing round shapes, such as polka dots, promotes prosperity and good luck. Additionally, eating round fruits, like oranges, watermelon, grapes, and pomelos, is considered fortuitous as well. Many Filipinos gather 12 or 13 round fruits, the exact number is up for debate, and display them as the centerpiece of their dinner table. Another one that's fun for the kids: jump as high as you can as soon as midnight hits. Some people believe that it will help them grow taller in the new year. The fourth cool thing to celebrate that people around the world do to celebrate New Year's is in Brazil, wearing white while jumping into the ocean. Now, I do not recommend that in Santa Cruz at the moment with the very high tides that we are experiencing, but here's what they do in Brazil. Wearing white on New Year's Eve has long been a tradition with roots in Africa, as it symbolizes peace and spiritual cleansing. In Brazil, the Festa de la Manhã takes place on this night to celebrate the Afro-Brazilian goddess of the sea, La Manhã. The culmination of the event is when everyone, dressed in white, runs into the water right at midnight to jump over 7 waves. Now again, folks, not at Santa Cruz. Right now, we've got big waves out there. Each wave and jump signifies a different request the swimmer is making to a different orija, or god. Consider them New Year's resolutions or hopes of sorts. In Mexico, this is the fifth thing considered cool by the authors of Afar, is walking around with an empty suitcase. Here's one we can really get behind, say the reporters. In Mexico, there's one tradition people participate in on New Year's Eve to help bring in a year filled with travel and new experiences. People will walk around with an empty suitcase or set it in the middle of a room and stroll around it. Others go further and take a full lap around the block with their empty luggage. This tradition is practiced in other Latin American countries, as well as Mexico, too. The sixth cool thing is from Cuba, throwing a bucket of water out the front door. In Cuba, people symbolically gather all of the bad spirits and negative energy from the past 365, and I'll add a quarter, days and toss them right out the front door. It is not uncommon to see buckets full of dirty water flying out of homes during the countdown to midnight. You need to watch out if you find yourself strolling through a Cuban neighborhood on New Year's Eve. That could be unpleasant. Here's the seventh cool thing from the authors of Afar, in Greece, hanging and smashing pomegranates. Puerto Rico, a Greek custom that roughly translates to good foot, aims to bring luck at the start of the year. Before the holiday, households will hang pomegranates, thought to be a sign of luck, prosperity, and fertility, from their door. Then, on New Year's Eve, just before midnight, everyone will shut off the lights and leave the house so they can send a lucky individual to be the first to re-enter the house, right foot first. When done correctly, it brings the family good fortune for the year. Afterward, a second person will take the pomegranate in their right hand and smash it against the door to see how much luck. The more juicy seeds that spill out, the more luck the new year will bring. Well, that sounds like an interesting tradition, and hopefully you want to have a front door that is going to be okay with having red pomegranate juice spilled all over it, but of course bringing good luck. You're listening to Community Matters, and I'm your host, Becky Steinbruner. I'm honored to be here with you this afternoon, the last program of 2024. Do call in with how you and your family and friends celebrate New Year's, the coming of the new year. Call me at 831-265-5050. I'd love to hear how you celebrate New Year's. I'm going back. I'm reading an article, a very interesting article I found from a magazine called Afar. It was published online December 23rd, 2024, and the authors are Kris and Jesse Beck. Obviously, world travel interests. So we're now at the 8th cool thing that these two people felt were of interest around the world traditions, starting off the new year. In Germany, melting lead to divine the future. In much of German-speaking Europe, as well as Finland, Bulgaria, Czechia, and Turkey, it is customary to heat small pieces of lead and cast them into cold water and make a prediction for the new year based on the shapes that form. For example, if a ball forms, luck will roll your way. These days, kits throughout German-speaking countries include tin rather than lead, figurines to melt. If you're looking for predictions on the best place for you to go visit in 2025, Afar has an article that you can consult your astrological sign as a place to travel. Out of curiosity, I looked mine up, and it was Portugal. Here's the 9th thing, Russia. 12 seconds of silence before midnight. Russians say thank you to the past year by remembering its most important events during the hours leading up to midnight, and they use 12 seconds of silence before the stroke of midnight to make wishes. That seems like a very nice, introspective, quiet time, and that's kind of where my heart is. Number 10 is Spain, searching for the man with many noses. In the Catalonia region of northern Spain, a special character appears on the last day of the year, l'homme dels nasos, or the man with many noses, has as many noses as there are days left in the year. And he grants wishes, if you can find him. According to this Spanish tradition, children are encouraged to look for him, rarely realizing that on the last day of the year, he only has one nose left, and is therefore hard to spot. The 11th fun thing, according to the authors of Afar, is in Denmark, jumping into the new year. Literally. Denmark is usually associated with cozy concepts like hygge, I don't know what that is. But New Year's is a totally different story. At midnight, Danes will jump off a chair or jump off a sofa, literally jumping into the new year. It is seen as good luck if you do, and bad luck if you do not. So be sure to take a leap if you ever ring in New Year's in Denmark. They also have a tradition of breaking plates, which represents the act of removing negative energy and ill will. Well, that's quite a bit of action in the Danish households on New Year's. What do you do in your household on New Year's? You can call me and we'd love to hear from you. 831-265-5050. The 12th cool thing from the writers of Afar travel magazine is in Italy and Spain, wearing red underwear. Italians and Spaniards both wear red underwear for good luck. However, Spaniards insist the underwear must be new to be lucky. Italians, however, take things a step farther. They often throw old items out of the window to symbolize the coming of things, new things, in the new year. Well, you could have some rather unpleasant things land on your head if you're walking around in Italy on New Year's Eve. Have you ever done that? Give me a call if you have some funny stories or interesting memories. The third thing that is very cool from around the world celebrating New Year's Eve is in Japan, visiting a temple for lucky charms. Japan's New Year's traditions have a wholesome focus. Shogatsu, New Year, is usually celebrated with a visit to the local temple to exchange last year's lucky charms, omamori, for new ones. Afterward, people will feast on traditional New Year's foods, such as prawns, which are believed to bring a long life, and herring roe to boost fertility. The last thing from the authors of Afar here, the 14th one, is in Ireland, setting an extra place at the table. The Irish have several New Year's traditions, such as banging the outside walls of their houses with bread to keep away bad luck and evil spirits, and starting the year with a spotless, freshly cleaned home. But one of the most well-known is setting an additional plate at the dinner table for any loved ones lost in the prior year. Well, that is yet another introspective way to welcome in the new year and thank and say goodbye to the old, isn't it? This article from Afar originally appeared online in December 2015. It was updated on December 23rd, 2024 to include current information. So again, that was a magazine called Afar, published updated information on December 23rd of this year. And the authors are Kris Zioli and Jesse Beck. Our family does not do anything too extreme, like jumping off the couch or smashing pomegranates or throwing dirty water out the front door, but we do take a moment to think over the year that has passed, and often that includes thinking of those that have passed away in the year. And to that end, I'd like to thank those who have passed, such as Bruce Bratton, a longtime figure in Santa Cruz, the heart and soul, as someone said in a Good Times letter to the editor of Santa Cruz. I had the honor of being one of his online bloggers for quite a few years, and he taught me a lot. He always was telling me my articles were way too long. and would meet with me on occasion to try to help me become a better writer. And I like to think that he really did help me become a better writer. My articles in Bratton Online, his weekly blog, are still often too long. But he hasn't growled at me recently about it. I think he just accepted. But you see, there are so many things happening in the local community about which I write. And my goal in Bratton Online, as it is here on Community Matters, is to help inform the community and hope that you, the community, will step up and make one call, write one letter, or just attend a public meeting for something that interests you and get involved. We, the people, are the fourth arm of government, and it is up to us to keep our elected and appointed officials accountable and make sure that what they do is fair and transparent. So I would like to dedicate the remainder of this first hour to Bruce Bratton. He did pass away in his sleep, peacefully, we hope. And it was a sudden thing, and yet I think he knew that it was coming. He had informed the Bratton Online writers that we should be prepared that the following week our contributions would be the last. His words were, "It has to happen." Well, we writers got together recently, and we've decided, in honor of Bruce and with the approval of his two daughters, we're going to continue. So you can look forward to a continued version of Bratton Online. I am very glad to be able to tell you that the movie reviews, which were Bruce Bratton's signature piece in the Bratton Online contributions, will continue thanks to his daughters. And we're all very, very happy about that, keeping the Bratton family in the mix, and certainly the spirit of Bruce Bratton alive and well. I would also like to thank and acknowledge the passing of Barbara Chamberlain, another heart and soul of the Aptos area. She was the mover and shaker of the Cabrillo Host Lions Club. Her husband, Dave, was a charter member, and that was back in now it's almost 62 years ago, when Cabrillo Host Lions was chartered. At that time, the Lions Club, which is an international public service organization, the largest in the worldwide. But at that time, in the 1960s, they did not allow women into the club. Well, that changed in the 1990s, and as soon as it did, Barbara Chamberlain signed up to be governor, a leader of our local area of Lions clubs, and she served very well. She did some great things, such as setting up an emergency fund for local disasters, and a lot of that was put to use during the Sobranes fire in Monterey County, the CZU fire in 2020 in Santa Cruz County. And it could have been used for the Pajaro floods, but it somehow didn't happen. And largely because Barbara Chamberlain's husband, David Chamberlain, had passed away or was very, very ill. And I don't know, it just didn't happen. But it certainly could have, and in the next disaster, you can be sure that the local Lions clubs will be there helping out in many, many ways. It was interesting to me to learn that the Lions Club is usually first to arrive at a disaster and often the last to leave. Even after the Red Cross and Salvation Army have left, the Lions are still there, and that is because it is a local organization. The people who are most affected are there in the trenches with their neighbors, their friends, their family, helping pull things together. So the Lions Club has a local emphasis, certainly focusing on helping those who have vision and hearing problems, and provide free eyeglasses, eye exams, eye surgeries, even guide dogs for the blind for people who cannot afford it. And the Lions Club collects donated used eyeglasses. If you have some and they're just kicking around in a drawer and you want to clean things out in honor of the new year coming, you can donate your used eyeglasses to the local Lions Club. There are collection boxes at all of the Santa Cruz County libraries and other places, and you can also send a message to the local Lions Clubs. There are 4 of them now in Santa Cruz County, and ask how to get your prescription or just readers' eyeglasses to people so that they can be put to good use. So I'd like to honor Barbara Chamberlain, and in a way, my reading about fun things around the world was a nod to her. She was a local published author and really loved writing children's books, mysteries, things like that. And before she passed away in February of this year, she would come and be the guest on Community Matters, the last Friday of the last program of every month, and read some kind of a folk tale. And it was really fun to have her here. So we miss her, and we really want to honor her and all of her good work. So you're listening to Community Matters. This is your host, Becky Steinbruner, and I'm here every Friday from 2 to 4 with you. And we discuss many things. If you want to see hear some of the past episodes of Community Matters, you can do so by going to the santacruzvoice.com website and scroll down to the bottom of the screen, and you'll see all of the programs that are on santacruzvoice.com. The ones in blue have live links to past recordings of episodes, and I've been trying to be better about getting them uploaded. They're not all there. They're not all there, but many of them are, and I want to thank Marco Romanini and Bill Wolverton for helping me accomplish this good service so that you can listen to past programs, such as the great one about recently with Project Oasis, Nancy Sondel, and there were 3 mental health counselors there online with us talking about teen mental health and what Project Oasis is going to provide for free to youth and their families to help them with severe anxiety, depression, in a way that doesn't involve drugs. Getting them out on the farm, getting them active, getting them connected with people and being heard. That was the big message, being heard and not judged for how they feel or what they say or what they do. That program was a great one. We've also had other great guests, such as Sarah Christensen from the Regional Transportation Commission, talking about the big projects going on, the rail trail and highway expansion. And we also had a couple of people, Roxanne and Tim, whose homes are affected adversely by the rail trail project and have been told that by June of 2025 they have to move their homes. And that was a very interesting program. They are understandably very worried. And many of these people, there are 24 people in one park alone that have received this letter. And the RTC hired a consultant supposedly to come up with alternatives to moving. It only came up with costs, estimated costs, that are not even considering everything. And it's upwards to sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. Who would pay? Who will pay if the RTC insists on squeezing in a trail alongside a railroad, a passenger railroad, which is the purpose of the Regional Transportation Commission, RTC, purchasing the rail corridor in Santa Cruz County. So that's on there, and we hope to have those good folks back to give us an update as it goes along. They did send a line in the sand letter to the Regional Transportation Commission saying we're not moving. And I understand they've been told that if they don't, they will be arrested. So there's something to watch if you care about that. And if you are interested in issues of encroachment along the rail corridor, we'll certainly keep that issue alive in 2025. Gosh, that rhymes. I didn't even mean to do that. Now, I've got about 20 minutes or so. And so anyway, just let me wrap that up. You can listen to these programs on the website, santacruzvoice.com website, by going to the bottom and clicking on Community Matters and the ones that have been uploaded. I haven't uploaded them all, but I've been trying to keep it a little more current. Those are there. And you can click on them and listen to them, and I invite you to do so and share the information with others with whom you think are interested in these topics as well. You're listening to Community Matters on Santa Cruz Voice. This is Becky Steinbruner, your host. And again, I want to ask that you consider stopping by the Satellite Work and Digital Media Center at 325 SoCal Avenue in Santa Cruz. It's where our studio is hosted, as well as community television. It is a clean, very secure, very quiet, and friendly place for your remote work or meetings. There are small meeting rooms available for rent by the hour, by the day, whatever might suit your needs, and I cannot say enough good about it. You can come here for free on the first Friday of every month and take a look at it, or you can call and schedule a tour at 831-531-2300. So our second hour, as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, will be a great program about leaving California. Many people are considering leaving California for a lot of reasons. And my guests in the second hour will be Miss Kristen Colishaw and Miss Kris Kirby, both of whom are former hosts here at santacruzvoice.com with the Elephant in the Room programs. Their recorded programs are still available on Mondays 2 to 4. Some of the best of, and there were many, and we're hoping that they'll come back and be hosts. They'll have to do it from afar because they have moved out of California, and we're going to be talking with them about what that was like after the recorded news break at 3 o'clock. So I've done a bit of research, and as I mentioned, a recent survey said that 56% of Californians have or are considering moving out of the state. According to an article December 21st of this year in the San Francisco Chronicle, California has 1/10 of the U.S. population and 1/4 of the U.S. immigrants. This is a big topic right now. Not only are people moving out, there are people moving in. And who are they? Well, most of the people moving out say they are doing it because California has too many regulations, taxes, the high cost of housing, the high cost of goods, and it's very hard to run a business, especially a small business, in California. In According to the U.S. Census in 2010 to 2020, California lost a congressional seat for the first time since the state's founding, and could lose 3 to 4 more seats in 2030 if these same migration out of the state continue. Most of the people are moving to Florida or Texas. Within California, the fastest growing areas are in the Central Valley and the Inland Empire. That's down near Bakersfield, that area. The Bay Area seems to be stagnant, while the rural parts of the Sierra Nevada and further north are actually getting smaller. Plumas and Mono County. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, quoting some State Department of Finance figures, 2023 to 2024, there actually was a population increase in Imperial and Del Norte counties. You might be interested about Santa Cruz County. I looked up on the State Department of Finance figures. Santa Cruz County had a negative 0.3% population decline. So in 2023, there were 263,775 people. In 2024, there were 262,862 people. So I always like to hear the numbers. I learned during COVID you can't really rely much on percentages of things, because the smaller the number gets, the base number, any change can look like a much bigger percent. But Santa Cruz County actually lost population by about 1,000 people. In 2022 to 2023, over 690,000 people left California. This is according to new census data. Mostly cited were economic reasons: the cost of housing, being able to buy a home. It cited people who had left California were able to buy a home in Texas, a very large home, for $108,000. 94,000 people left California and went to Texas in 2022-2023. However, in that same time period, 422,000 moved into California. Well, where did they come from? This article in the San Francisco Chronicle says that most of them came from New York, 35,000 from the state of New York, 32,000 from the state of Washington, and about 22,000 from Nevada and 22,000 from Oregon. The states of Illinois and Arizona also had people moving to California, about 21,000. So we have people coming and going. And some in the article, this is the San Francisco Chronicle, December 21st, 2024, some people interviewed said they moved out of California and they regretted it, so they moved back. So it will be interesting to hear in the second hour. Our guests will be Kristen Colishaw and Kris Kirby, who have moved out of state. Do they regret it? We'll have to find out in the second hour, and I hope you'll join us and call in and join the discussion. Going back to this information from the California Department of Finance census for the year 2023 to 2024, I was interested in local population movement. The city of Capitola lost population. The city of Santa Cruz lost population. Scotts Valley lost population, but the city of Watsonville gained population by about 1,000 people. The balance of the county, according to the California Department of Finance, also lost population by about, again, 1,000 or 1,500 people. That's in the unincorporated area. So there you have it. Things are moving, people are moving, and so I have to wonder, why is the state housing and community development requiring such high numbers of building permits to be for each city and the county? Do you think that by building more, the prices of housing will come down? I've read articles on both sides. Supply and demand may not work in this instance because Santa Cruz is a wonderful place to live, as we know, and a very desirable place. And now, since COVID and many people working remotely, if they didn't lose their job and business, can live anywhere they want. If they can afford to, why wouldn't they want to live in Santa Cruz? So maybe the supply and demand factor will not bring the cost of housing down in Santa Cruz County simply by providing more of it. And there's always the issue of the impacts of the increased building, which has long been fought by the no-growth, slow-growth people like Bruce Bratton, who fought to stave off development up on the north coast of over 10,000 homes and a shopping mall. And we have him and a group of intrepid organizers like him who fought that, and we have them to thank for having instead Wilder Ranch State Park. So maybe that's a good thing to do on New Year's. Go visit Wilder Ranch State Park and see the animals and take a hike and look at the views out over the ocean. And thank people who cared enough to make a difference, that, like Bruce Bratton and many of the people that worked with him in the 1970s, to preserve something so precious for us now. You're listening to Community Matters. This is Becky Steinbruner, and I am your host now, and on into the next hour, when we will have two guests who have left California and are going to talk with us about what that was like and what it is like for them now. So I hope you'll join me. You can call now if you'd like, 831-265-5050. We've got about 7 minutes here before the top of the hour, when there will be a 6-minute recorded news break, and then we'll have our guests online. Going back a little bit to the issue of leaving California, maybe you heard about the proposed California exit tax. It was proposed, known as Assembly Bill 2088. It was proposed by our now Attorney General, Rob Bonta, and also by Mark Stone, who was our local state assemblyman here. He has been replaced by Assembly Member Gail Pellerin, and the zones kind of got split up. So Gail Pellerin represents the north end of Santa Cruz County, while Dawn Addis, D-A-W-N, Miss Dawn Addis, represents the southern part. And there's even a little piece that Robert Rivas represents off in there in the Watsonville area. It's kind of an interesting split, with 3 different assembly member representing Santa Cruz County. But going back to this proposed exit tax, that was Assembly Bill 2088. I am happy to say it died, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's brought back. The tenets of that was that it was supported because it would help the state recover their investment in the people with the wealth who were leaving and were continuing to leave. And it would also close a loophole in the capital gains tax, where people would move out of California and be taxed at a lower rate. Um, the tax, called the California exit tax, was proposed, but it did, according to the website for it, did die in committee. Would have taxed anybody with $30 million in worldwide wealth at the rate of 0.4%. It would have been a one-time tax paid upon leaving California. You would have had to have paid a tax to leave California. And my question was, well, how do they know? How does the state know? Well, the California Franchise Tax Board has policies, and they have ways of determining when you are a resident that include the location of the largest residential property that you own, the residence of your spouse and children, whether your children attend school in a California school district, and how many days you spend in California each year. If you or your family are not residing in your home for the majority of the year, you may not qualify as a California resident. And again, my question is, how does the state know? Is that tracked? How is that tracked? Well, maybe our guests in the second hour have encountered something like that. The State Franchise Tax Board also considers things that are not quite so straightforward in terms of deciding whether or not you are a resident.